Hi, and welcome back to day 5 of the 2020 Empowerment Countdown. Today we're talking about how to learn to express yourself, and I'll be talking about how to escape job-place tyranny. The big excuse most people make when they're trying to live a better life is that they don't have the money and they don't have the time to do what they need to do. For so many people, jobs have become a prison that's limiting their free time, sapping their energy, and changing their beliefs, whether consciously or unconsciously. Whether intentional or not, many job places have in effect become mini tyrannies. And so I'll be talking about two methods that you can use to change this job place tyranny into a productive system that actually helps benefit you and helps catapult you to the next level. And for me, there's two ways to do this. One is to change the workplace that you're in. You don't necessarily have to quit your job if you hate it. What you can do is change your attitude, change the way that you approach it, and it's possible that the workplace will transform itself into something that's beneficial for you and is able to help you rise to the next level. Of course, there's always option two, which is if the workplace doesn't change or you end up finding that it doesn't have the capability of meeting the standards of where you need to be, then you always have the option of leaving the workplace to either find a better job or to find a completely new way of supporting yourself and your family that better serves your life purpose. So to start with, I'm going to talk about how can you approach a job that is toxic. The people around it aren't necessarily serving your best interests or serving their best interests, and how can you make moves to help improve the situation. Step one, uh, make suggestions, not complaints. I see this all the time. I've worked myself in several environments which were not good, toxic, hurtful to the people working there, um, hurtful to the bosses and management. But unfortunately, they were stuck in a mire of complaining about the situation. Right? It feels good to complain, you know, that water cooler office talk where you can really air your grievances, and that is one step in the process, or it can be one step in the process. But unfortunately, in so many situations, the workers and even the managers leave it at that. They're just complaints that get aired over and over and over again, and it makes you feel good and maybe make you feel superior. How could the management be so stupid as not to see these obvious problems, right? But it never goes so far as to reformulate it into how can I make the situation better? And there's a huge step there, more than more than you think, because oftentimes these areas of complaints, these sticking points, have a reason for their existence that's deeper than is immediately obvious. So it may seem really stupid that the management does it this way. Why do they schedule this way? But when you change your perspective to, well, how could we improve it? You find, oh, there are serious limitations leading to this, right? But you also may have the perspective to figure out a third way that hasn't been thought of, or a whole new means of approaching the problem from your perspective, and can change your attitude to where you're actually contributing to your workplace, right? If you're constantly at odds, adversarial with the people in charge and with the whole system that you have chosen to be part of, right? You're not working there because somebody forced you to. You may feel compelled to, but in reality, you have the option of quitting at any time. In capitalist society, you can quit at almost the drop of a hat, right? But you're not. And so if you're making that step, you're showing up to work every day, you should be transforming that your relationship with the workplace to how can I make this better? And by formulating your complaints as suggestions, realistic suggestions, and yes, not every suggestion that you come up with is going to be the best one, but by merely taking that perspective, you've made a huge step in the right direction towards building a workplace that you can function in and that you love going to. The next thing is to set clear boundaries for yourself. What behavior you find acceptable in yourself and in others towards you. Um, this is something that I see gets beaten out of a lot of people, right? They say, well, that's just how the workplace is. They can treat me like that. Or over time, they get so demoralized that they'll accept almost anything, right? Because they need a job, they need to eat. And if that behavior comes with, my need for getting a paycheck, then I just have to accept it. And that isn't the case at all. But the real big takeaway is if you don't have boundaries, you're never going to know when to say no, right? You never know what is acceptable or not. So, and this comes in two reciprocal means, right? You need to set boundaries for how other people treat you. And at the same time, you need to set boundaries for yourself about how you treat other people. And by giving respect and then demanding respect, you often will trigger admiration and a renewed sense of seriousness from the people that do have power over you when they see that you're not willing to take what they're dishing out. You know, probably 80% of the time, they will immediately change the way that they're interacting with you because they are getting the feedback that that's not acceptable. The third step I find that to be the single most important step that anybody can take, and that is actually taking an active interest in your profession or your job. Right? It's very common to see people, working to get to the end of the day, working for the weekend. They don't really care about the company. They don't really care about what they're doing. They just need to get, paid because they got to get to whatever they're doing, pay the rent, and so on and so forth. But that's selling yourself entirely short. The amount of work that you're getting out, the amount of productivity that you are getting out of yourself from compared to what's possible when you don't really care is so minuscule. It's not even worth your time, right? If you're in a profession or a job where you just can't care about it, you just don't, you know, it doesn't cross your mind to want to improve how you're doing it, or to, you don't feel any interest in moving the the business forward and moving yourself forward, then you need to get out of it. But if you can take the time to try to find that interest and actually build yourself up, you have a very real possibility of improving your position, from one that's untenable, from one that you hate going to in the same company or the same workplace, to one that you actually really enjoy, because you've changed your perspective on the whole workplace and you're actively contributing, and you're at the same time people who are improving themselves and trying to build up the company and build along the goals that the the group has set, the management or the owners have set. If you're working with them, they will find you to be invaluable, and pay increases, increased responsibility, and greater fulfillment in your job is what awaits there. And lastly, you need to also find your own purpose, not just the purpose of the company or the purpose of the place you're working, but really get in touch with what you think your life's purpose is. And I've done more in-depth discussion on this in previous days, but it's very clear that if you don't know what you want to do with yourself, you may get caught up in other people's dreams for a short period of time, but you end up falling out of it. And so to have real fulfillment in the workplace, you need to align that workplace with your own personal goals. And you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, because the ultimate creativity, the genius that lies inside of you, in whatever area, is stymied if you're not doing it for the right reasons. And working for a paycheck is never, ever the right reason. You may get paid doing the thing that you love, but you'll never ascend to the ultimate, climax of what's capable within you without taking oftentimes scary steps to work out what is really, the fruit of your tree. So now I'm going to move on to what happens, or what should you do when you feel like the workplace you're in, um, or perhaps any workplace available, is not a good suit, does not well suit your life's vision. There may be times when, or for certain people, where the general workplace isn't enough, and this isn't going to be everybody. There's plenty of people where a typical job, when approached the right way, will 100% suit their life vision, and they are able to work that into everything else that they're doing and have a really enjoyable life and a really fulfilling life. But for some people, like I'm one of them, working in a general workspace is just not going to get you there. And so you have to take, step-by-step action to get yourself in a position where you're able to leverage your abilities and build up a situation around you that does fulfill your life's purpose. Number one and most important step: spend less and save more. An unfortunately large percentage of people working in America and probably across the Western world uh, do not have savings. They're living paycheck to paycheck, or month to month, and that just doesn't get you there. You have no control of your life if you have to get paid in 2 weeks or you're underwater. And an even larger percentage of people, if you count mortgages and you count credit lines and payments of various kinds, they're underwater. Like they just need the money to pay off their debts, but they are not getting to where they're, having money to spend, moving themselves in the positive direction, right? There's tons of loans and there's tons of opportunity out there to get low cost, you pay later consumer goods. But when it comes to spending money to invest in your life and making it better and invest in passive income, those are not on credit. You need money up front for that. And if you are underwater now, spend less, save more, and work towards getting out of that hole that you're already in. I've talked about this in previous days, so go back and check this out if you're interested on that. But so that's all I'll say. But continuing on to the next step, develop a comprehensive vision. Okay? If you don't know where you're going, you're definitely not going to get there. So if you, at this early stage, focus on developing a vision for your life, and this is big goals, this is dreams, this is not necessarily step by step, but 10 years down the road, how do you want to be? How should your life be to really be ultimately fulfilling to you? And just nail that down. Dream big, meditate, do whatever it takes to get something that you can be 100% on board with and feel like this is the direction that my life needs to go and it's worth my time and effort and potentially sacrifice to get there. Third, now turn this vision into a plan. Set deadlines and work, 6-month intervals to get closer and closer and closer to where you can leave the situation that you're in and you're working towards building a situation that is ultimately fulfilling to you. So this steps in this plan could be, saving up a certain amount of money, um, signing up and completing trainings that you may need, uh, getting a certain amount of cash flow in alternate businesses or passive income to meet your needs so that you're able to free up your time. And there's a lot of detail to be dived in on this. And if you're at all interested, check out my website, offgridpermaculture.com, and feel free to contact me directly. But just to close out this whole line of thinking, follow your passions. And if the passion isn't there, you're shortchanging yourself. You're you're shortchanging your family because they deserve to be with the best you that you can be, and you're shortchanging your community and the world because every person has a unique gift to offer. And right now, a tiny fraction of people that are alive are actually living to their fullest possible potential. Within everybody, there's a genius of some kind, whether it's a mathematical genius or just a genius father or mother or a genius mechanic, whatever it is. That genius of some kind is living in you, and it's your responsibility to take action to get that genius out and to become you, the 100% you that's locked away. So thanks for joining us today. And of course, we have a whole nother series of interesting talks tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m., about growing your intuition. So thanks for watching, and I'd love to see you come back tomorrow.